You're listening to the WrestleHavoc podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes, right here on episode 14 of the WrestleHavoc podcast, here to discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We got a lot of things to talk about right here on the show. Of course, the main thing that we are going to be talking about is CM Punk. His return has been planned and apparently booked for the United Center, and it looks like we are going to be getting a similar show, most likely the premiere show of AEW Collision, kind of similar to what we had to The First Dance 2 years ago, in which we had CM Punk's return to professional wrestling. Also, we're going to be talking about more updates on the AEW Collision Show and apparently how much money AEW is going to be making off of this show because of CM Punk. Apparently, it's going to be $50 million, which is absolutely huge for the company. And speaking of CM Punk was actually on Raw, backstage on Raw. He wasn't on the show, of course, but he was backstage at the show, but I believe he got kicked out. There's a whole story on that in which people completely blew out of proportion all over the internet. We're going to be talking about that as well. Hangman Page and AEW are in talks of a contract extension. Plus, we're going to be talking about the Backlash card. Yes, Backlash is this weekend, so we are going to be running down the WWE Backlash card so far. I'm actually filming this right after Monday Night Raw went off the air, so there's actually a lot of other things that I also have to talk about, but I'm not going to be talking about on this show. Of course, WWE just revealed the World Heavyweight Championship. It's now going to be a world title basically dedicated to the Raw brand. There's pros and there's cons to that, but we're going to be talking about that on the Raw review, which will be uploaded tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. I'm actually going to be uploading this around 1 in the morning, so maybe around 6 or 7, or maybe later on in the day, the Raw review will be up on the channel. But we're not going to be talking about that right now. We're going to be talking about all the other news that is going on in the realm of professional wrestling, primarily CM Punk, because he is a big topic right now when it comes to the realm of AEW, especially. There's pros and cons when it comes to a CM Punk return. In my opinion, a lot of pros, especially financially. You're going to be making a lot of money, that being AEW. They're going to be making a lot of money when it comes to CM Punk's return. But it all depends on the environment of the locker room, in which we will be talking about on this show as well. But before we get on with all of this craziness, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the WrestleHavoc podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Plus, if you guys missed it, the Dynamite reviews and the SmackDown reviews are up on the channel as well. So if you guys haven't checked out those two reviews, the links will be in the description below. Of course, when it comes to SmackDown, it was primarily a boring show nonetheless. Nothing really special happened on that SmackDown show. And of course, over on the side of AEW Dynamite, we had the Four Pillars tournament, which there's pros and cons to that as well. We all know we're going to be getting a 4-way at Double or Nothing anyway. I genuinely believe it's just pure build just for the 4-way that we're going to be getting at Double or Nothing. But a lot of people were not really big fans of that whole quote-unquote Pillars tournament, so I talk about that as well. So again, if you guys haven't checked out the Dynamite and SmackDown reviews, both links for both reviews will be in the link in the description below. But let's get on with the news. And our first topic, and this is basically going to be our main topic, I'm going straight into the action. CM Punk's AEW return is planned for the United Center in Chicago. Punk's return to AEW is currently scheduled for Saturday, June 17th. This is a big deal. This is an update on the return, of course, in the previous episode, on episode 13 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. We talked about CM Punk's impending return to AEW, how AEW is planning on CM Punk's return, especially based off of this new AEW Collision Show, as well as the roster split, in which you guys know my stance on it. I think it's a fucking terrible idea that you're going to be splitting the rosters because you have apparently some people that are siding with the Elite and some people that are siding with CM Punk. It's fucking stupid. If you're going to split the rosters, split it for the right reasons. Don't split it for that reasons. That is my opinion on that. If you guys haven't checked it out, check out episode 13 to give you guys all my thoughts on that. Plus, I will be hopefully this week uploading shorts, basically condensing all of the information that I was talking about, because trust me, this whole roster split, there's pros and cons. There can be a lot of pros when it comes to the roster split in AEW, because God knows AEW's roster is 100% bloated. But again, I mean, the fact that you're splitting the roster because apparently you want to split each other from everybody's situations, it's only going to make the situation that much worse. That's just my opinion. But AEW is planning his return at the United Center. I'm reading this from F4W Online, the people that run the Wrestling Observer. CM Punk's AEW return may be taking place at the same venue where his career for the promotion began. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Punk is currently scheduled to return to AEW at the United Center in Chicago on Saturday, June 17th. Things have yet to be finalized, but the United Center is booked and an announcement could come shortly. The June 17th date will, quote-unquote, likely be the debut of AEW's new weekly Saturday television show for Warner Brothers Discovery. Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "As things stand right now, the return of CM Punk is scheduled for the June 17th show at the United Center in Chicago, which, is being a Saturday night show, is likely the debut of the new weekly show. The rumor of the new show name is called AEW Collision, based on the trademark the company took out some time back when there were talks with Warner Brothers Discovery for the new Saturday show got serious. At press time, everything was not finalized, but the building is booked and it will likely be announced very shortly. When the Punk deal and the TV deal are finalized, that will, of course, be when things are announced. Obviously, when the building deal is in place, the TV deal has either to be done or they must be almost certain of it. The decision of Punk returning was made many weeks ago, although there was a snag 2 weeks back that has evidently been worked out. Obviously, being at the United Center, the show will be heavily promoted and have a theme name, which evidently has been decided upon." Meltzer notes that Punk was extremely important. He was an, quote-unquote, extremely important factor in AEW's deal for the new Saturday show. And he states, and I quote, "We do not know if he was extremely important in this deal, but whether the deal was incumbent on him, we've heard both ways," Meltzer wrote. One person outside the company has seen correspondence indicated that Warner Brothers Discovery definitely wanted him back, and other things that have happened in recent weeks, very much behind the scenes, have indicated to us that Punk being back is, if anything else, very significant in everything. Punk made his AEW debut at the United Center in August 2021, and he debuted on the second episode of Rampage named The First Dance. A return would mark the first time Punk has appeared for AEW since All Out 2022, when he got into a backstage brawl with the Elite after going off on them at the post-show media scrum. So that is basically the gist of this whole thing. What do I think of this whole scenario? I think booking the United Center is definitely a good idea, especially for CM Punk. I mean, you're going to sell that shit out regardless if you advertise him or not. I would assume AEW is going to advertise him. But it's very weird. Now, I remember talking about the AEW Collision Show on the last week's episode of the WrestleHavoc podcast. And I talked about how this show is going to happen with either CM Punk returning or not. Like this show is happening with or without CM Punk. Is that actually the case? I'm starting to really think that, I don't want to say Warner Brothers Discovery was pressuring AEW to bring back CM Punk, but I think they would have been more comfortable giving the deal to Tony Khan with CM Punk being involved, if that makes any sense. Now, you guys know my stance on the Saturday show. Originally, when we first heard about this show, we first heard about this show when they first filed for the trademark AEW Collision, I believe back in January. But of course, the news started rolling about this new show roughly around a couple of weeks ago, maybe last month, and apparently, originally the show was supposed to be a 1-hour show. Everybody was saying it was going to be at 6:05 on TBS. Those rumors got debunked, and then Andrew Zarian of the Matman podcast stated that that show is actually going to be a 2-hour show on a Saturday, most likely live from 8 to 10 on TNT. Now, most likely the network is going to be TNT, and we have an update on that. But you guys know my stance on the Collision Show. There's pros and cons. Of course, there's the whole roster split aspect. It's the fact that the show should not be Rampage, because at this point, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. Rampage is a skippable show. Not a lot of people watch Rampage. Let's be honest with ourselves. I stopped reviewing Rampage on this channel a long-ass time ago. Let's be real here. Nobody watches Rampage. You know, there may be great matches on the show, but nothing really important happens on the show. And I feel like this new Collision Show is going to be their true, legitimate B show that is going to be on par with Dynamite. But again, you're having this show on Saturday. Once a month, you're going to go head-to-head with the WWE pay-per-view. And honestly, who's going to watch? If you were to choose a major WWE pay-per-view, maybe like a WrestleMania or Survivor Series over AEW Collision, chances are you're going to be watching that WWE pay-per-view for that one time every month. You know what I'm saying? You're going head-to-head with major sports, especially if you're putting the show on TNT. You're going to get preempted a lot. So there's major pros and there's major cons. Of course, the major pro is there's a lot more TV time. And if you actually do split the rosters, albeit for the right reasons and not for the reasons that are being reported, you have a lot more opportunities for a lot of the talent that aren't being utilized. But also, if you're doing this roster split, what the fuck is the point of Ring of Honor? I talked about this last week as well. Ring of Honor, basically the original notion of Ring of Honor was you were basically going to split the roster, and the whole idea of the brand split was going to be AEW and Ring of Honor. But of course, Tony Khan couldn't get a television deal for Ring of Honor, and now Ring of Honor, unfortunately, is a part of Honor Club, which I'm going to be honest, I'm actually contemplating on canceling my subscription. Not because I don't like Ring of Honor, it's just I haven't had the time to watch it. But not only that, the weekly show is just match after match after match. I'm not saying that the matches are bad. I'm just saying, like, I get it, it's Ring of Honor, and the whole emphasis is on wrestling. But again, you really need to add some sort of stories on there. You don't have a lot of stories. It's kind of booked similar. I don't want to say to Dark because I don't watch Dark, but clearly, from what I've seen, Dark is basically match after match after match after match with very few backstage segments. That's basically the whole gist of Ring of Honor, to be quite honest with you. And that shouldn't be the case, in my opinion. Or is it a situation in which Ring of Honor is going to be more of like an NXT type of deal? Because that's what we all originally thought. I may be wrong, but again, what is the point of Ring of Honor if you're doing this roster split with Dynamite and the supposed new Collision Show? So it's very interesting. Now, speaking of this new Collision Show, how much money is AEW going to be making off of this Collision Show? Apparently, the deal for this new show is going to be worth $50 million a year. This is huge. So I'm reading this from AEWHindy.com, a random website, but they basically kind of cover the whole gist of this whole thing. AEW Collision Deal is worth more than $50 million a year. In March, it was reported that there were negotiations between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery that they wanted to add another AEW show to their schedule. It seems that the deal is now close to being finalized. Rumors are circulating that the new show will air on Saturdays called AEW Collision. And Andrew Zarian, according to Andrew Zarian of the Matman podcast, the deal is going to be worth $50 million per year. And a quote by Andrew, he states, and I quote, "If AEW only makes what Discovery has been paying for first-run shows as a general rule," which basically means $500,000 per hour in general is what Discovery pays for first-run programming, that's basically $52 million per year, and that's a game-changing financial deal for AEW. If the new show generates the same amount of revenue as Discovery's first-run programming, which is roughly around $500,000 per hour, AEW could earn $52 million per year. This would be a huge deal for AEW. Although the deal for AEW's new show is not yet finalized, an official announcement is expected soon. The fact that the United Center has already been booked suggests that their plans are progressing well, and the fans are eagerly awaiting the news of this new show. And basically, they'll be covering more on the news of AEW. You guys know the deal. So apparently the show alone is going to be making over $50 million a year. Primarily, that's probably off the back of CM Punk, because we all know, hearing by the reports, that basically Warner Brothers Discovery is basically doing this whole show, and CM Punk is going to basically be the head of this whole show. That's a good thing. That's a good deal for AEW at the end of the day. If you really think about it, it is a big deal for them because, again, this is a contract negotiation year with AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, you have a lot of people on the internet constantly say, oh, they're going to get canceled, blah, blah, blah. These are people that live in the past. Do not listen to these fucking people. AEW is gonna, get renewed by Warner Brothers Discovery. I cannot see AEW getting dropped by Warner Brothers Discovery. But the question is how much money, or how much is the increase going to be with the amount of money that AEW is making based off of the money that they are already getting for both Dynamite and Rampage? That is an interesting note. And if this is true, that they're going to be making $50 million a year alone based on just Collision, it is a big deal, but also it's a big gamble and an investment on Warner Brothers Discovery's end, because again, this show could easily fail or this show could easily succeed. And this is the thing, the show has to be live, because if the show is taped, forget about it. The show is not going to feel important at all. If this show is live and it does roughly around the same ratings as Dynamite, this show is going to be successful, period. And with CM Punk at the helm, I understand CM Punk, there's a lot of issues, especially in the locker room regarding CM Punk. The fan base is relatively split regarding CM Punk, whether, the fans like CM Punk or they hate CM Punk. Apparently, the Elite, CM Punk was told to have no contact with the Elite, even though CM Punk wanted to apologize. What the fuck does that mean? We have absolutely no idea. And look, the Elite have every right to think, hey, we do not want to work with this guy because this guy basically ruined the thing that we basically built. But at the same time, I genuinely believe that the Elite, honestly, in my opinion, I genuinely believe that they know deep down in their hearts the match that everybody wants to see, and that is either Punk versus Omega one-on-one, which is a money match that can easily sell out a stadium. Everybody has been saying that they could easily sell out Wembley Stadium August 27th by that match alone. Or the six-man match with Punk and FTR taking on the Elite. Now, what's interesting is that All Out is most likely going to be a week after. We still do not know if All In is going to be a pay-per-view. My best bet it is. But it's very funny how All Out is actually going to be a week after All In. Maybe that's a coincidence. Anthony Bones actually replied to a fan the day the Wembley show was announced. But it's interesting. Is that show going to be on HBO Max? We have absolutely no idea. People need to understand that Tony Khan, when he made the announcement with Nigel McGuinness and Adam Cole, he also mentioned that they were celebrating 100 years of Warner Brothers. Could this be a situation in which All In is a HBO Max, or I should say Max, special? Because we all know in the revamped new HBO Max app that's going to be launching, I believe in the next month or two, they're going to be adding sports. So this is going to be very interesting stuff, especially for AEW. That could be more coming in for the company. And I was listening to Andrew Zarian of the Madman podcast, and he brought up a very interesting point. AEW is on the verge of being the most healthy number 2 company, of all time. Probably almost surpassing WCW, which is insane because if you think about it, WCW definitely turned a profit in 96, 97, and 98, those 3 years, and everything started to fall down roughly around 99. But after WCW, TNA, were making a lot of money when they were on Spike, but they weren't as profitable as AEW is right now. I could even argue that AEW is largely far superior than TNA, in my opinion. They're so much bigger than TNA. Everybody tends to compare ratings, saying that TNA did higher ratings when they were on Spike than AEW Dynamite does now. But if you think about it, I mean, has TNA tried to go for the Alamo Dome, but they literally have the majority of the arena tarped off. They never really expanded upon. Now, granted, in the UK, you could argue that TNA was actually much bigger in the UK than they were in the United States. But again, TNA at one point was considered the fastest growing promotion in wrestling. Now, AEW has done that, and they far exceeded expectations, and now they are far superior than what TNA ever was. That's just pure fact, in my opinion. Not only that, if you compare pay-per-view buys, TNA's highest pay-per-view buy rate was Genesis 2006 with roughly 60,000 pay-per-view buys, in which that pay-per-view was main evented by Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. Their first pay-per-view, AEW's first pay-per-view, did roughly around 90,000. So, I mean, clearly AEW is much bigger than TNA was. But again, this is a big deal for AEW. Them making $50 million with this Collision Show alone is very interesting. Now, in an update, this planned AEW Saturday television show is going to be airing most likely on TNT. I'm reading this from F4W Online. If a new AEW TV show on Saturday nights is happening, it will air on TNT. Andrew Zarian tweeted on Monday that while TBS has been rumored as the destination, he stated, and I quote, "I'm being told that TNT will land the new show. The new show in question has been rumored to be called AEW Collision, that will air from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern weekly and will feature CM Punk as the central star. It will also be the second AEW TV show to currently air on TNT, with Rampage being the other. Dynamite then moved to TBS from TNT to TBS in January of 2022. So TNT is interesting. I talked about this earlier. You're going to be dealing with a lot, and I mean a lot of preemptions, and that's going to be a major con if the show airs on TNT. Honestly, my best bet is that this show is going to be airing on TBS, because even though you're still going to have preemptions on TBS, let's be honest with ourselves, it's far less preemptions than TNT, because TNT has not only the NBA, I believe they have soccer now as well, but they also have the NHL, and Rampage has been preempted constantly due to the NHL. And now they're probably going to be preempted more because of the NBA. So my best bet is going to be TNT, but if the rumors are true, most likely this show is going to be airing on TNT. All right. So that is basically the whole thing with CM Punk. Actually, no, we're not done with CM Punk. No, you thought we were done here. Nah, man, we were not done. CM Punk reportedly visited tonight's WWE Raw, and he was asked to leave. This is a big story that a lot of people just went absolutely apeshit for. Now, I'm reading this article from Wrestling Inc. They were not the original sources that broke the news. I believe it was PW Insider that broke the news. But WWE Raw is in Chicagoland tonight, and it appears that an unlikely hometown hero was backstage before tonight's show. PW Insider Elite is reporting that former AEW and WWE champion CM Punk was backstage in the Allstate Arena in the Chicago border town of Rosemont, Illinois, for tonight's show. Punk was reportedly visiting unnamed people backstage, though the report does not state that Punk met with WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque, which marks the first time the two had reportedly met since Punk walked out on WWE in 2014. Punk reportedly met with several people and was eventually asked to leave the arena, in which PW Insider says that a Vince McMahon decision was that Punk adhered to without protest. A video basically shows Punk outside of the arena, posted later on Twitter, and it shows him with Tamina Snuka. Fightful later added in its own reporting, confirming that Punk has spoken briefly with Paul Levesque backstage before Raw, and the report added that Punk also met up with several talents, including The Miz. Wrestlers backstage at Raw were reportedly viewing Punk's unexpected appearance as a publicity stunt. On the flip side, some AEW talents were said to be in quote-unquote disbelief after hearing the news. Punk is currently under contract with AEW, though he hasn't been on its programming since September after the whole tirade at All Out led to his backstage altercation with a number of his coworkers. There's been reports of Punk being the center of AEW's upcoming Saturday show, which would come with a possible roster split in the interest of keeping all warning tribes happy. Punk has not worked in the corporation with WWE since his brief stint as a contributor on the weekly WWE Backstage program on Fox Sports between 2019 and 2021. So yeah, that's very interesting. Punk shows up. He doesn't show up on the show, but he was briefly backstage at Raw. And this caused a lot of uproar, man. Tonight was fucking crazy. I mean, with the whole Triple H announcement that it was going to shake the foundation of WWE, and with Vince McMahon apparently was changing major things on the show, which, if you really watch the Raw show, I mean, Raw was not really the best show ever, but I didn't really think it was that much of a Vince McMahon show. Like, very few little things were changed on the show. But CM Punk being backstage at Raw, what the fuck is going on? That's very interesting. I'm going to say this once, and I'm not going to say it again. Punk is not returning to the WWE. If you honestly believe Punk is returning to the WWE, you are absolutely fucking brain dead. I'm being 100% honest right here, man. You are absolutely fucking brain dead. Because if you really think about it, Punk has talked all this shit about WWE for years, has had bad blood, even up till last year. If you guys do not remember, I believe it was San Diego Comic-Con, correct me if I'm wrong. He was talking, this was like a month or two after Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out. Like, he was saying, like, I support, Sasha Banks and Naomi. And he even attended Battle in the Valley a couple of months ago to support Mercedes when she won the IWGP Women's Championship, I believe. So, honestly, Punk is not going to the WWE. Why the fuck would Warner Brothers Discovery pay $50 million for this Collision show, knowing that CM Punk is going to be the centerpiece of this show, only to have CM Punk go to the WWE? Why the fuck would CM Punk do that? Why would Punk think of doing that? People need to realize that Punk lives in Chicago. He's gonna do something with his life. Like, he's not just probably he was just there for in my opinion, just shits and giggles. Like, he doesn't give a shit. Punk does what he wants to do. He doesn't give a single fuck. And honestly, do I think this is a publicity stunt? I genuinely believe so, man. It's definitely interesting, but, I don't think we should think too much of it. We got a lot of dumbass reporters, man. And this is not like Brian Alvarez or Dave Meltzer or Sean Ross Sapp. Those guys are very credible, and maybe Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, but like all of the lower tier ones, like, your Wrestle Talk TVs, or I still call it Wrestle Talk TV. That's how old I am. But you get your Wrestle Talks, your fucking Ringside News, those dumbasses, especially Ringside News, they're pieces of shit. In my opinion. Yeah, fuck Ringside News. They're assholes. I don't like them. They would literally go out of their way and report clickbait bullshit just for the sake of getting clicks. Don't believe these people, because at the end of the day, they don't give a shit about the reporting. They only give a shit about the money that comes in their pocket and nothing else. Only leave it to the credible ones. The credible ones like Meltzer's. Say what you want about Dave Meltzer. And look, there's a lot of shit that you can say a lot about Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. But they're very credible because they've been doing this shit for decades. Especially Dave. As well as Sean Ross Sapp, especially because Sean Ross Sapp is very, very, very credible at what he does. So, like, those guys could be very reliable sources. But the lower tier ones like Ringside News, Louis Dangor on Twitter, like, don't fucking listen to those guys. Zero News. Everybody's saying Zero News is a credible source. Bro, those guys make up top tier bullshit. Don't listen to those fucking guys. False media, in my opinion. Don't listen to those guys at all. But again, people are just creating stupid speculation for the sake of creating stupid speculation. CM Punk is not going to go to the WWE. He's going to be with AEW. There's no fucking way that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be paying AEW $50 million only for CM Punk to go to the competition. That's so fucking stupid. Not only that, CM Punk is still under contract with all the time that he had off with, repairing from his triceps injury and the whole fucking suspension that happened after Brawl Out. He was still getting paid by AEW. So honestly, he's not going to go to the WWE. Not only that, if Punk went to the WWE, he'd look like a major fucking hypocrite. That's just my opinion. But Punk is not going to go to the WWE. Everybody is taking this whole thing out of context. You can call me a shill all you want, but Punk is not going to go to the WWE. It's a dumbass statement to make. So that is that. But yeah, we are done talking about CM Punk. We're now going to be talking about Hangman Adam Page. Yes, Hangman Adam Page is apparently in talks with AEW for a major contract extension. Well, I shouldn't say major contract extension, but a contract extension. I'm reading this from Fightful Select. Hangman Page and AEW are in talks for a contract extension. All Elite Wrestling is looking to lock up Hangman Adam Page. Fightful Select has learned that Hangman Page and AEW are in the process of working towards a potential new contract. Hangman Page was not the only one of the original signings, but one of the people involved with the announcement of the formation of the company in January 1st of 2019, though he wasn't given executive vice president status. Those we spoke to said that negotiations started fairly recently, and there doesn't seem to be much of a timetable on what could get done. Page has the same rep as the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, who have also been in the process of negotiations regarding extending their deals as of late. This looks to be an integral period for All Elite Wrestling, as they have the looming return of CM Punk and are negotiating extensions for a lot of their top-tier talent and have some of their biggest shows on the horizon. So that was the report from Fightful Select. Overall thoughts on this, it's very weird how all this CM Punk stuff is going on, and apparently, the Elite haven't talked with CM Punk yet. All of this whole situation is not even resolved, and this is happening at the same time in which the Elite, that being the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, plus Hangman Page, who basically started this whole thing with CM Punk back in May of last year. It's very interesting how they are in the middle of contract negotiations in extensions for their contracts in AEW. Meanwhile, all of the CM Punk stuff is going on. I don't want to be the bearer of speculation and all that stuff, but could CM Punk's return, and this is a very interesting question, could CM Punk's return be something that affects the contract negotiations with the Elite and Hangman Page? Now, I genuinely believe that the Elite and Hangman Page will eventually stay with AEW. I genuinely believe that. I feel like there's a lot more for them to do in AEW, especially with guys like Adam Cole, with guys like Switchblade Jay White. Like, there's a lot of talent that they could work with. Plus, they have the Wembley show happening. I don't think the Elite are going anywhere. But what if they do go elsewhere, especially Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks? Hangman Page, I definitely see somebody as a lifer in AEW. I may be totally wrong in a couple of years, but Hangman Page, I definitely see him staying with AEW. But again, with all the CM Punk stuff going on, apparently with CM Punk wanting to apologize, but hasn't had any contact with the Elite yet, and nobody basically has talked it out, could that affect contract negotiations with the Elite? We have absolutely no idea. But again, it's something to very much keep in mind of, because, again, it's a very pivotal time for not only AEW, but for Tony Khan, because at the end of the day, yes, he's bringing back CM Punk, but the most important thing, the number one priority, and I talked about this for weeks now, the number one priority for Tony Khan is to re-sign Kenny Omega, or I shouldn't say re-sign, but literally keep the Elite locked in for AEW for the next couple of years. Just keep them locked in, as well as Hangman Page. That's your number one priority. You cannot afford to lose the guys that built the foundation for your company. You already lost one in Cody Rhodes last year. Imagine losing Kenny and the Bucks this year. It'd be very embarrassing for AEW and be a very bad look in the company, in my opinion. But I genuinely believe that the Elite are going to be staying. I genuinely believe Hangman Page is going to be staying as well. But again, what if this whole CM Punk thing affects the contract negotiations? It's something to keep an eye of. But that's just me. That's just my opinion on the whole matter. All right, continuing on, we are going to be talking about, briefly, Warner Brothers Discovery. Yes, once again, Warner Brothers Discovery, apparently, quote-unquote, wanting, quote-unquote, are in talks with WWE. It is a very weird situation because, honestly, there were comments made. Now, I'm gonna talk about this. Let me pull it up. There were comments made by James Andrew Miller, who has written several books about media while also working for the USA Network in the past. And he's basically an insider in the television industry. And he was talking about how it wouldn't surprise him if Warner Brothers Discovery had an interest in WWE programming. He stated, and I'm reading this from TJR Wrestling's website, so if you guys are wondering, I'm reading from them. In addition, Miller believed that if Warner Brothers Discovery obtained the rights to WWE Raw or SmackDown, then perhaps they could move a show like Raw off Monday nights, despite the fact that Monday nights has been a television staple for over 30 years. The WWE TV rights for Raw and SmackDown expire in October of 2024, so it's believed that there are negotiations going on about new deals. So that was basically the comments of James Andrew Miller. Now, this is very interesting because, once again, It caused a lot of speculation with a lot of people on social media saying, oh my God, they're going to dump AEW. It's the dumbest speculation. It's just literally one guy thinking what he thinks. Like literally in my opinion, one person's opinion is not news. It really isn't. Now, Fightful gave us an update on the WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery rumors. Jim Miller caused a bit of a stir, noting that he wouldn't be surprised if Warner Brothers Discovery was interested in WWE content if they lose the NBA. Based on information Fightful has received, that hasn't been the case. Several WWE higher-ups has inquired as to whether or not that's something people within the industry have heard and noted that they have not heard that whatsoever. We're told that there haven't been any conversations regarding WWE with WBD. There haven't been any conversations with several places that serve as possibilities, however. The other side, sources at Warner Brothers Discovery actually tell us the opposite. There was nothing ill of WWE noted in our conversations, but they indicated that WBD is gearing up to expand their relationship with All Elite Wrestling from both a financial and content perspective that will become evident soon, and it was hinted that that show involves the upcoming Collision Show as well as more possible content. So there you go. Everybody creating this big deal about WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery is a complete fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I hate using that terminology, but I will. Why would Warner Brothers Discovery jeopardize their relationship with AEW if they're adding 2 extra hours on Saturday night with AEW Collision on TNT? It makes no sense, and then they're going to want to turn to WWE. People need to realize that if WWE, Warner Brothers Discovery is literally hemorrhaging a lot of fucking money. Hear me out. They're hemorrhaging a lot of fucking money. Do you honestly expect them to have a deal with the WWE? Because I guarantee you, if WWE went to Warner Brothers Discovery, they would probably demand roughly around the same amount of money that they would make for Raw on the USA Network, which is roughly around in the billions area, or the Fox deal. They will be demanding billions, and I'm sorry, but Warner Brothers Discovery is not going to be giving them that kind of money, especially with the current state of Warner Brothers Discovery as well, with all the cuts that they've been doing. AEW, the reason why they have AEW is because of the fact that it's cheap programming that is actually successful. That's one of the main reasons as to why they're expanding their relationship and as to why they're basically paying them $50 million, or I should say $500,000 per hour for a show that you're going to be getting 52 weeks a year. So this whole notion of Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW is complete fucking stupid in my opinion, but you know, a lot of people love to stir shit up for no apparent reason whatsoever. It's absolutely dumb in my opinion, but I mean there you go. That's just a lot of people for you. And then in our next topic, we're going to be talking about WWE reaching a new deal with Twitch. This is according to Fightful Select. There's some great news if you missed WWE wrestlers swimming. Literally, I am so tongue-tied. I'm like always tongue-tied all the time. Fightful Select has learned that WWE and Twitch reached an agreement to allow WWE wrestlers back on Twitch with almost no restrictions. Those we spoke to said that the revenue will be a 3-way split that Twitch and the talent take the vast majority of. Quote-unquote, almost no restrictions was outlined to us not by permitting talent to stream with people from other companies unless it's cleared first. Talent that we spoke to were very happy about the deal. In April of 2022, there was a talent meeting that was held to notify wrestlers that they have the opportunity to expand their third-party platforms again. However, it took longer for WWE to work out a deal with Twitch, which we are told has been finalized. In the fall of 2020, a decree was made to eliminate numerous third-party deals and the platforms for talent. This led to frustration across the roster, with many citing that as a contributing factor to their desire to perform elsewhere. So, WWE reaches a partnership with Twitch, and at the end of the day, this is nothing good for the talent. I mean, nothing. This is good for the talent. My apologies. Again, I'm tongue-tied. Jesus Christ. But this is nothing but a good thing for the talent at the end of the day. You know, I believe in Twitch. I was listening to a couple of podcasters, primarily JD from NY. I believe he was saying that apparently when it comes to Twitch, with all the money that you make from Twitch, Twitch gets 50% of it. So basically with the deal that WWE reached with Twitch, WWE is basically gonna split half and half with the Twitch side, and the talent can get the full 50% that they would be already making if they had a normal deal with Twitch and WWE had no partnership with them. So at the end of the day, it's a win-win for the talent. WWE gets 25%, and then Twitch would get 25%. So at the end of the day, it's a win-win for the talent. I thought the edict that they put 2 years ago, one of the reasons as to why I believe Zelina Vega got fired was fucking stupid. I thought, especially during the age of the pandemic, talent needs to find extra ways to make money, and Twitch was that outlet. Not only that, wrestlers in the WWE or wrestlers in general are known as independent contractors, but the structure in WWE is so fucking weird that you're basically an employee. You're not really an independent contractor, even though they say you're an independent contractor. So it's a very weird stuff, and it's a very weird structure that WWE has. If you think about it, when you sign with the WWE, you're realistically an employee of the company. You're not really an independent contractor, but I don't know the whole deal. I'm not really a business savvy, but that is just my deal. But at the end of the day, this is nothing but a good thing for talent, because now talent get to continue to make their extra money. And at the end of the day, if you want to keep your talent happy, let them make their money on their own time, because there's nothing wrong with making money off of video games, okay? I don't mean that as a bad thing as well. I mean that as a compliment. And finally, we got our final topic of this episode of the WrestleHavoc podcast. Actually, no, we have another topic, something that I actually wanted to mention. AEW files a trademark of AEW WrestleDream. Now, this is actually very interesting. I'm reading this from F4W Online. AEW has filed a trademark to a name of a potential new wrestling event. According to records from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, AEW has applied the trademark of the name AEW WrestleDream. The purposes listed for the trademark include conducting entertainment exhibitions in the nature of wrestling events, entertainment services in the nature of production of wrestling programs and events, entertainment in the nature of wrestling contests. An event with a similar name took place on April 1st, 1991, involving wrestlers from the WWE, WWF at the time, and Super World Sports SWS. WWF champion Hulk Hogan retained his title against Yoshiaki Yatsu in the main event. And, basically I'm not going to read the rest of the things, but it's very interesting. Now, what could this lead to? I have absolutely no idea, but it's something to keep an eye on. So I just wanted to briefly mention that. And we're going to be briefly running down the Backlash card, because, of course, we got a pay-per-view this weekend. We got WWE Backlash. The first time a WWE pay-per-view is going to be in San Juan, Puerto Rico. We finally got the full match card for Backlash. Now, I'm not going to be giving my predictions. I'm actually going to be saving that for Friday Night SmackDown's review. But we're going to be running through the whole card. Of course, we got a triple threat match for the U.S. title. We got Bronson Reed versus Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory. Why is this match happening? If Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley are feuding together, shouldn't there be a one-on-one match? The fact that they got Austin Theory inserted into this feud that he's not even a part of makes absolutely no sense, in my opinion. We got the SmackDown Women's title match with Rhea Ripley defending her title against Zelina Vega. This kind of makes sense considering the fact that the LWO and Judgment Day are feuding. But it's a match that I'm not really that excited about because the outcome is pretty predictable in my opinion. That is not to say predictability is bad, because I always come on record on here and say there's good predictability and there's bad predictability, but I'm just saying this match is flat out predictable. We got the Raw Women's title match with Bianca Belair defending her title against Io Sky. Then we got Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. And then we got Seth Rollins versus Omos. Yes, Seth Rollins versus Omos. The most random fucking match on this entire card. If there's any indication that Vince McMahon is not running things in the WWE, at least not everything, but some things, just look at this match. Seth Rollins Omos sounds like an absolutely terrible, and I mean terrible, idea. What a dumb match that is. Seth Rollins versus Omos. That is the most random fucking match I've ever seen. In what interaction, besides tonight, has Seth Rollins had with Omos? I'll tell you the answer. None. So why'd you guys book this match? This shit makes absolutely no sense. This is the most random shit I've ever seen. We got Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, officially announced recently in I believe it's a Puerto Rico street fight. I believe it's going to be a one-on-one match, so that's going to be great. Bad Bunny is fantastic in the ring. He's proven himself time and time again, so that is great to see. And we then got the Bloodline, that being Solo Sikoa and the Usos, taking on Matt Riddle and the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. It's a big six-man tag team match. It's going to be a big deal. But really, if you think about it, what's more important is actually the night before, because on SmackDown, we're going to be getting the Usos versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the undisputed tag team titles in a WrestleMania rematch. So that's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But that is the Backlash card. Overall thoughts on Backlash, I'm not really that excited for the show. It's going to be a big deal considering the fact that it's the first WWE pay-per-view that's going to be in Puerto Rico since January of 2005 when WWE held New Year's Revolution. And Bad Bunny is going to be there, so it's going to garner a lot of mainstream attention. And WWE loves their mainstream attention. So on their end, it's actually very good. But in my opinion, as a fan, I'm not really that excited for it, but I'm still going to watch anyway because, of course, I have a channel to run, so I'm going to be watching the show regardless whether I'm excited or not. But nonetheless, we got Backlash. I think it's still going to be a relatively good show. I'm just not really that excited for it. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys for episode 14 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. We definitely talked a lot right here, a lot of shit we talked about on this show. And of course, we got the Raw review, which I will definitely be uploading hopefully tonight, because by the time you guys are actually watching this video, it's going to be roughly around maybe the morning of Tuesday. But hopefully I can upload the Raw review maybe on Tuesday night. We're just going to have to wait and see. I got to really schedule myself because I have a lot of other shit going on. But overall, we definitely talked a lot about CM Punk again. CM Punk is literally in the news constantly, especially with this AEW return, because it's a big deal. And also with CM Punk appearing on Raw, which literally everybody is clickbaiting the shit out of a lot of people with the whole CM Punk backstage at Raw notion, thinking that he's going to go to the WWE. Makes absolutely no goddamn sense. But we definitely talked a lot about the Collision Show, Backlash, WWE, all that stuff. But yeah, man, that's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next few months in the realm of professional wrestling, because this is going to be a big deal. But yeah, that was episode 14 of the WrestleHavoc podcast. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. Peace out.